Hello, amazing people. Welcome back to MOG Economies YouTube channel. So, in today's class, we're talking about developing countries as promised. So, what are developing countries? What are examples of developing? What are the examples of developing countries? Now, developing countries are countries that have moved beyond the stage of being undeveloped and are moving towards the stage of being developed. So, developing countries are the countries that are in between. So, you cannot call them undeveloped countries or underdeveloped countries, and you cannot also call them developed countries. So, they are in transition, they are taking a journey, okay, from a point to a higher point, right? All right. So technically speaking, developing countries are countries with high level of infrastructure, high level of industrial development. Like I am, no, sorry, got that. Developing countries are countries with low level of industrialization as well as low human development index. Now, I don't think you should have any problem with industrialization now. With the springing up of industries, here and there in a given, country, kind of simultaneously. Yeah, simultaneously. All right. So in developing countries, you don't have things like that. You don't have the industrial sector is not really working. Okay. Then there's an additional point here. I think with less industrial base and then a very low human development index. Now, human development index is a measure of economic development. I didn't mention it in the last class, but I had mentioned it to kind of. Okay, human development index is a measure of is a measure is an index for measuring economic development, and it looks at three things, right? It looks at three things. It looks at income, and income being measured by GNI per capita. It also looks at, or maybe an equivalent variable. It also looks at education, and looking at adult literacy rate or school and enrollment rate ratio. Then it also looks at health. So this is talking about life expectancy at birth. All right, so that's the proxy variable for health. Okay, when we say the meaning of proxy variable is a variable that is close to capturing something. All right, so it's capturing a bigger variable, it's capturing something that we are willing to talk about, that I want to talk about. So there has to be a way to measure health. You understand? So one variable that you can use kind of to measure health is the um, um, what did I call it? What did I call it just now? Um, damn, I don't want to look at this place. Okay, life expectancy at birth. Yeah, exactly. Life expectancy at birth. So I said I kind of mentioned this in the previous class because I mentioned these three things: this, and this. Okay, among all of those indicators of economic development, by the states that three of them happens to be, you know, components of HDI, human development, indicator. No, I think it should be human development indicator, not human development index. Or whether right? Okay, human development index. Anyway, um, let me just okay, okay. All right. Next, we talk about the features of developing countries. All right. So, what are the features of developing countries? High poverty rates. Of course, they're just developing. Then they have limited access to quality education and healthcare services. I think these points are self-explanatory, so we won't be wasting a lot of time. And dependence on primary industries such as mining and agriculture. We've spoken about primary sectors, so this will be a big deal. Then you have political instability. Now, this may not be um, okay, let me just continue. Then you have low HDI. Now, these factors, these features, you find them in developing countries typically, but you may not find all of them at once. All right. So some developing countries may not have political stability. All right. They may have other things. All right. And some developing countries may still be better in one way or the other. So what I'm trying to say is that when you compare like two or three developing countries, you might not have all of these five, features. There are more than five. You browse, if you look for them, you read books, you study. So there are a lot of features, but for the sake of teaching and learning, let's just limit them to five. So when you look at the maybe three, four, five developing countries, you may not find all of these points there. You understand at the same time. All right. But these are typical features of developing countries. Now, because I looked at it that okay, if we are saying we are talking about developing countries, now we've moved away from undeveloped countries, right? We are going towards developed countries. So now let us even know what developed countries are, right? Let's look at what they are. Let's look at their own features too. Let us look at their challenges because this is where you're going. This is where you're going to. As a developing country, like you are seeing your future. Like this is the kind of future you're going to have. So is this something that's entirely desirable or not? Understand? Like just let us look at those that have gone ahead and see and measure their state, kind of evaluate their state and see if we should continue our you know to continue intensifying our efforts to being like one of them. Okay. So developed countries are countries with high level of industrialization and high human um, high living standards. Okay, high HDI. You understand? Like in terms of HDI ranking, they are better off. They are high up there. And then we also look at high economic advancement. So we have high level of industrialization, high level of economic advancement, and so on and so forth. Now, what are the features of developed countries? Number one, you have well-developed infrastructure, education and healthcare system. Well developed, right? So if you want quality education, there's access to it, right? It's everywhere. If you want quality healthcare, there's access to it everywhere online. Some developed countries that's probably come to your mind that you are likely on your own, right? In fact, this is one of the reasons why people emigrate to Nigeria. Those who have the money, okay, not that they are not doing well in Nigeria, but sometimes, what if there's an health crisis? So where are you gonna go in the country? So they just go, they just move abroad and settle abroad. You understand? Settle abroad because they want access to quality health care. They have money, you understand, and they want to be in a place where they can get value for their money in terms of healthcare facilities. The same thing for education too. Now that some people cannot continue to stay in Nigeria or in maybe any other developing country, but they want something better. And since they have the means, so they just go. So it's not as if they are traveling out for the money that they're going to make additionally in these foreign countries. They are well off on their own, but they just want quality education, right? So where you don't go on strike, you don't go on actual strike for months. Right, so we also have strong welfare system. In fact, this is something that should blow someone's mind. Now, when you're looking at the welfare system, this is a system that is meant to protect low income earners and the less privileged in the society. You want them to be vulnerable in the society until things become better for them, right? Or a way of welfare systems welfare, system put in place to make life bearable, okay, for the less privileged in the society. Right, so we look at some countries. I think I got this from the United States. Some of their welfare packages. So you have child care assistance. So this is to help low-income families in the raising up of their children, right? So the government provides funds and stuff for them. Then you also have housing assistance programs. So if you want to get a house, there's a way the government can also assist you in order to get a place to stay. Understand? So if you look at your own country now, is there something like that? Maybe you are left to go and sleep under the bridge and just find your way. Understand? So look at it. These are things that you have when you go that you have access to when you go to developed countries. Then you also have social security income. So this is the income to um, the uh, income supplements to the disabled, in the society and so on and so forth. Maybe you are disabled in one way or the other, so government also assists you, understand, to make sure that your income is at least able to make you enjoy the basic things of life, right, in your country. Now, there's also another one peculiar to the United States, temporary assistance for needy families, TANF. It's also a welfare package, right? So temporary assistance for needy families. So it's not going to be long. It's a federal government kind of a thing. They give you cash. So the family is not expected to be needy for life anyway. So you get access to cash that makes you know things bearable for the family, right? To make things. So like there are a lot of them. If I have more of them in my notes, but at least we can't just keep talking about all of these things. All right, so that's that about welfare systems. Then we also have IHD. I've spoken about that. So in terms of literacy, in terms of income, in terms of education, in terms of income, in terms of health, these countries are high up there, right? Now, you also have political stability. Of course, when you look at developed countries, um, some will be coming to mind. So United States, United Kingdom, China, Russia, Canada, Australia, and so on and so forth like that. So when you look at them in terms of political stability, when last did you hear that the military intervened and disrupted their democracy? So these people they have political instabilities in subtle ways, but at least not in it's not those violent ways where you don't even know your next head of state. Where the military plans coup, kill people left and right, you understand, and you don't. In a matter of months, it may have changed. The head of state may have changed, or the president may have changed maybe like 2, 3 times. You understand? So you don't really get to hear these things. They have their own challenges, from the fact that they have a lot of. We get there where they have a lot of um, immigrants from different countries, and these people also want to be ably represented in government. They want to be catered for. So with people coming from different countries with different ideologies, so you kind of have um, polarized kind of polarized opinions, and the government has to respond to all of this. But those states still don't really qualify as political stability. So developed countries are politically stable, at least relatively better than developing or non-developed, countries. Right, so next we have high level of economic output per capita. So here is talking about high GDP per capita. In fact, if you compare the GDP of let's say the United States or the GDP of let's say Japan, to the GDP of Nigeria or Ghana, then it's they are far off, right? So although even looking at the population, for example, if you look at the population of US, for example, US is around 333 million, let's say 330 million, right? And Nigeria is around 211 million people, right? So it's as if in terms of population, the United States is like 50% more populated than Nigeria. But their GDPs are not saying the same thing. US GDP is okay. I don't know if PhD. I think PhD will be up to 50% more than Nigeria's population. Understand, but it's a lot. Like it's just a lot. Right? I think somebody was saying that there was a particular year where our GDP, our total GDP was probably Amazon's annual income, one company's annual income, or thereabout. Now, I don't really remember. I didn't prepare to say that, but it just came to my mind. But whether it is close to Amazon's income, but for that comparison to have even kind of happened, so you see that our GDP, in terms of GDP, we are we are far off, right? So it will be your job to now go and look for the GDP per capita of the United States or maybe any other country. There's an assignment for you anyway. Um, so we get it. We get it. All right. So those are some of the features of developed countries, and I've written examples there: US, UK, Japan, even Germany, Russia, Australia, and so on and so forth. And what are the challenges of developed countries? Because these are the countries that we are aspiring to be like. So what are the challenges they are having now? Right. So number one, they have the issue of climate change and environmental. They have climate change and environmental issues, right? So because these countries have to continue to grow, right, they are heavily industrialized. So as because they're heavily industrialized, of course, they their industries burn fuels, this one and that, causing problems for the ozone layer, causing climate change problems, and so on and so forth. You understand? So it's because of the fact that they are heavily industrialized. You understand? So they have these climate change issues, and also they have a lot of how do I even put it? Let's leave it that way. Let's leave it that way. Now about you have aging population and falling birth rate. So if you look at a lot of developed countries, even China that is 1.3, 1.4 billion people at the moment, they are not giving birth to children at a very high rate. Understand? So they have aging population. That's basically because of two things. Number one, their citizens are living longer. They have a very high life expectancy and birth ratio. Um, then they are not really giving birth to children. You understand? Not really giving birth, so they have low fertility rate or declining fertility rate. So if you look at a situation where you are not really giving birth to children, and then a lot of people are living older than they used to be. So what you'll be having is what's just have there that's called an aging population. A lot of old people, but then you don't have a lot of young people in the economy. So that's the kind of thing that's affecting it right now. And those things have their implications. They have their implications because now that we are trying to pursue, now that developing countries are trying to pursue development, we want to be classified as one of those developed countries. So like these are things you should be looking at. Now, what are the problems of an aging population? So number one is the problem of workforce. All right, so who are the people that are going to be working? You understand in your workforce if most or all of your population is aged, right? That's one problem. Then second, um, in terms of what do you call these things? Yeah, in terms of the cost of taking care of the aged now, healthcare costs, yeah, most especially healthcare costs. Now, on the federal government, it's not going to be a small amount. You know, you have a lot of old people that you have to take care of, so you have to like put in a lot of money, you know, dedicate a lot of money, a significant part of the country's budget to taking care of the aged. You understand? And if you look at it, the aged are not the productive part of the economy. I'm talking about economic sense now. You understand? In terms of jobs, okay, in terms of working, understand? So they are not. So like you are having to set aside a lot of money to take care of people that are not really contributing to the society again economically. You understand? And then you have more of these people than younger people. You understand? So your country will soon be in an economic problem. Okay, they also have the issue of I've already mentioned it that one of their first issue is they not having workforce. So now they have to rely on workforce from foreign nations, you understand, for their countries to continue to thrive economically. So, you have, Canada, Japan, all of these countries, opening up the shores of their countries to people, right, from other countries, right, to come and work for maybe free visa, free whatever, just come and work. They are looking for nurses, they are looking for teachers, they are looking for this and that. Why? They don't really have people to fill in those gaps in their countries. So now you are depending on citizens of other countries for your economy to thrive. So which is problematic because once the war breaks out and these countries will call their citizens, you understand? So what's going to happen to your country? So like these are the issues, right? These are the issues. Or some of the issues that these countries are facing. And then we are also trying to be like them. So we don't necessarily need to have those problems, but it's just look at this is where you are going up. So these are the things that will likely be happening to you, you too. Okay, so I have this data here. So the data source, World Bank 2021, as well as United States Census Bureau, okay, the population division session 2021. So here we have three countries, Nigeria, US, and Canada, trying to look at their age population distribution. All right. So between age 0 to 14, Nigeria has 42, almost half of its population being between 0 to 14, right? Then you have 18.6 for US, 15.8 for Canada. All right. US and Canada are both developed countries. Nigeria is developing. 15 to 24 years, Nigeria has about 20% people there, about 13%, 12%. Then 25 to 34, look at it. And so if you look at 25 to 34, Nigeria has about 30% people there, then began to reduce to 4 to 3.5. But if you look at these people, they have 41%, okay, then there's 13.6, 13.6, 39, almost the same thing, 12.2. So if you look at Nigeria's population now, our youthful population, that's between 0 to 24, is about how many percent now? We're talking about more than 60%. So more than 60% of Nigeria's population is youthful, that is. I know all of these people now, especially this set, if you are looking at our workforce, for example, uh, people that can be really, really productive, maybe around here, maybe around people are supposed to be retiring at what year? So if you look at this age group, for example, so almost 50% of Nigerians fall between 15 to 34 years, which are the years where people are so productive. Then, okay, I think for US, they also have that kind of a thing. They have 53%. Okay, they even have more than Nigeria. Then Canada has, okay. But when you are looking at youthful populace, or something around from the children to these are people that, they get into the workforce eventually and then began to engage in productive activities. Nigeria is about 61%. This guy is around 31%. This person is around 26%. So children and youth in Canada about 27%. That was in 2021. Children and youth in US about 31%. Children and youth in Nigeria about 60%. So Nigeria still kind of have an edge, in terms of having that kind of populace because number one, these are people that will enter the workforce and then they are going to stimulate Nigeria's economic growth. We spoke about it when we were looking at discussing when we we're discussing economic growth. That a source of economic growth is the quantity and quality of your workforce. So all of these people now they will enter the workforce and then they are going to stimulate Nigeria's economic growth in as much as jobs are available for them to do, or there's a enabling environment for these people to create jobs for other people. You understand? But if you look at US and Canada, 30%, 20 something percent, your productive population, you understand, and then you have the rest around being old, you having to pay a lot. And the following, the next option is, I said, I said next option is another thing is Uh, well, let me say, I don't think it's a big point. I don't think it's a big point. I was going to say source of markets, but then it depends. Because other population to other countries too, they also have a source of market. Because for like this country with aging population, for example, there are source of market for things that the aged use. You understand? So like that's not really a you know a punchline. Yeah, that's not really a punchline. But the one that is okay is that the population that's going to improve your economic growth, you understand, they are the ones that are low. And they are continuously low. Why? Because of low birth rates. So these countries have to be relying on immigrants. You understand? And this data now is including immigrants for these countries. Once immigrants in Nigeria though. Who is an immigrant in Nigeria? Okay, so that's that. Then number three, we have immigration and refugee problems. Now, why do you have a lot of immigrants into developed countries? It's because of the um, things that attract, right? So these countries have, because of features of features of theirs, well developed infrastructure. So you want to go there to enjoy some of these things. Then you also have welfare systems, right? Then under well developed, we are talking about education and health. So welfare system, if you are not good, if you are not okay financially, you understand, then the government supports you for a while. So all of these things will make then IHDI, then even longevity of life, political stability. You running away from, let's say, Ukraine now, Ukraine that is fighting war with Russia, running away from Ukraine into like these countries that are politically stable. So those things attract a lot of people are going to develop countries because of these things, and they are putting pressure on the resources that these developed countries have. So that's the downside of it. They are putting pressure on it. So you have US, whatever, they all having, refugee issues. And there's a data according to United Nations. So in 20 damn, I need to write it. I think that should be 2021. Okay, 2020, okay. According to United Nations in 2020, countries with a lot of refugees, right? So US had 51 million, not refugees necessarily, but a lot of foreigners. Yeah, people that are, what foreigners mean anyway. So 51 million people living in the US in 2020 were not US citizens. And if you look at it, that's 1/6 of US population because US population is around 330 million. That's 1/6 of their population. Okay, 1/6, maybe around 16.6 something percent. Yeah. So their population. Then you're looking at Germany. Germany's population is around 80 something million. So foreigners among them 16 million. Saudi Arabia has 30 million foreigners. Canada has 8 million. UK 10 million. it is like that. So you have to cater for these people. That's the point. And you just have to cater for them. Um, it's serious. Developing countries don't really have those issues. People are rather living instead of coming in. You understand? So people are rather living in developing countries to look for greener pasture. Now we also have income and wealth inequality. So you have these things everywhere anyway. Where a lot of wealth is concentrated in the hands of the very few. So they also have that challenge. It's not just speaking at the developing countries, just that it might be worse. It is worse, yeah, in developing countries compared to the developed countries. Then economic stagnation and slow growth. You might be wondering, with all of this industrialization of the earth, why should they be experiencing economic stagnation? Economic stagnation is when a country is experiencing the same, um, is having close to a growth rate of zero. Understand? Close to a growth rate of zero. So, and it might even be zero, maybe 0 point something, right? So, like the GDP of last quarter, $300 billion. The GDP of this quarter, $301 billion. So when you look at a growth rate, the economy is not growing, so it looks as if it's stagnant. You understand? Or the economy is stagnant. You understand? So the problem with this is that it affects job creation. So you're having more people in the economy, but then the economy is not growing to provide jobs to take care of those people. So that's the problem here. That's the problem. Then you have slow economic growth. So these two things are happening because these countries are so industrialized, like they are highly industrialized. It's as if they are exhausting the potential capacity of their countries because they are heavy. So as a malnourished kid, for example, if you have a malnourished kid and you begin to give the malnourished kid healthy food and take care of the malnourished kid, the way the kid is going to grow and become healthy is different from you giving a healthy kid that same treatment. Even the difference will not even show. You understand? So like one is healing, is sick. So you take care of the person and the person recovers. So the person's rate of recovery is very high. But one is already healthy and you're giving the person the same treatment. So like it will not even show up. So that's the issue there. So it's not saying those economies are not doing, but they are already so heavily industrialized that it may look as if you know they can't really go beyond that level. And that's why if you look at this kind of countries, there is a lot of intensified effort at research and development. Like there should be something more. You understand? A lot of money is being put into research and development, R&D. Okay, to like create a new growth path for them, something different that they can do. So at least accelerate their rate of recovery. In the meantime, understand? So like those are uh, some of the challenges of the world. So with this, you can see that it doesn't matter where you are. People have problems. Countries have what problems, but some people have good problems. Some people have bad problems. You understand? I see you in the next class when we shall be completing this topic. Thank you very much. See you there. Bye.